What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay guys, so we are actually going to cover Blue Beetle for today's video, and we're going to cover Blue Beetle's graduation day. Now this is actually a very important storyline for two reasons. One, because of course DC released this book to say, hey, we need a book out there once the movie drops, because of course it does come out this week. But on top of that though, I feel like it's DC realizing that it's time for the character of Blue Beetle to move on from the high school scene, because ever since he was created, he's been stuck in that high school scene ever since then. And so it seems like DC really wants to move him into the young adult phase of his superhero life, but to show us how hard it could be for him to actually manage the young adult life, but also dealing with superhero stuff. And so that's why I kind of like this story, because it's the next step for Blue Beetle. So here it is, Blue Beetle Graduation Day. I do hope you enjoy. Now, as we dive into today's storyline, there are a few things I do want to talk about the character of Blue Beetle, especially this one right here, because there are two Blue Beetles technically right now in DC Comics, but we're focusing on the youngest one, which is Jaime Reyes. Now, when it comes to Mr. Reyes, the way he actually became the Blue Beetle of DC Comics is because he found something called the Scarab. Now, when it comes to the Scarab, usually they belong to a race known as the Reach. And what the Reach usually does is that they send a Scarab to a select planet that they want to actually take over. And usually that Scarab finds a host, takes over that host body, and use the host body as the way to begin the process of actually conquering that planet. And so when it came to this Scarab, it was actually sent to Earth to begin the process of actually taking over the Earth. The problem was though, this Scarab got damaged on its journey. And so of course it turned into a good guy, but it still fused to Blue Beetle, Jaime Reyes. And so that is how he became one of the two Blue Beetles in DC Comics. Now, with that being said though, when we actually pick up with Jaime Reyes, you see him right now fighting against someone known as Fadeaway. Now, when it comes to Fadeaway, it seems to me that she's going to be very important for this storyline down the road. But on top of that though, she is a new creation for the sake of this storyline. Now, with that being said though, once you have Blue Beetle and Fadeaway kind of go back and forth with their battle, it does end with her technically just fading away. She disappears, but she tells Blue Beetle, you better not follow me and leave me alone. Now, with that being said though, once the battle is over, you do have Reyes realize that he is late for something very important, his graduation day. Now, luckily for Blue Beetle, when he does arrive at the stadium that's right now holding his graduation, well, it just started. And so he's actually able to fly in, go somewhere, and then technically change into his graduation outfit and then get to his assigned seat. And once he does reach his assigned seat, of course, you do have his entire family right now excited because they're about to see their child walk the stage for his graduation, or well, they thought they were going to, because that is the moment where out of nowhere, right when his name is called, he gets some weird transmission from someone else who looks like another Beetle character. But the thing is, it seems like this Beetle character actually knows the Blue Beetle very well, because they say, you thought you could forget about us? And then the transmission ends. But here's the crazy part though. Something else happened to the Scarab once that transmission had arrived. And once that transmission had arrived, you had the Scarab actually take over Jaime Reyes' body, and they walk out of the graduation and then fly away. And so now technically this man just ruined his one big moment for high school, which was graduation. And so that is the moment where we do see the Scarab actually take over the body of Reyes, completely take over. And what I mean by that is you have the Scarab turn Jaime back into the Blue Beetle and they fly away into space. And the reason why, because the Scarab is right now trying to locate the signal of that transmission to figure out where in the world it actually came from. Now, here's the thing though. once you do have Blue Beetle actually reach space, that is the moment where you have the Scarab being able to actually locate the transmission signal. And that is the moment where we are shown a bunch of different kinds of images. And each image is showing a different kind of Scarab. And that right there is actually very important, because that means that on Earth right now, there could be other kinds of Scarabs out there, and other people could have the possibility of being other kinds of beetles. And so that is actually very, very important. But here comes the big problem though, because right after you had the Scarab actually show us and Hami those images, now they cannot communicate with one another, because right now the Scarab is speaking some different kind of language where Hami is unable to actually understand what the Scarab is trying to say. And so after that, you do have Hami Reyes say, you know what, it's probably best for us to go ahead and go back home, because technically I just ruined my graduation day for myself, but also for my family. Now, once he does arrive home, he is very worried about two different things. One, if he ever will be able to actually understand the Scarab once again, because right now the Scarab is still speaking this foreign language. But on top of that though, he's afraid that his family is going to be mad at him for ruining his graduation day. Except when he walks in, they're like, oh my God, you're here. This is great. We were so worried about you. And we have to remember that when it comes to his family, they know that he is Blue Beetle. So does his closest friends. And so it's kind of like he has that support there when he needs them. Except once you do have the family express that they're kind of worried about him and want to make sure that he is okay, well, that is the moment where you have Superman walk in. And the reason why, because Superman actually wants to talk to Hami Reyes about something very important. So the two characters actually go outside to have their conversation. And so that is the moment where we do see Superman and Hami Reyes go outside. And you have Superman at first try to, give some positive feedback over the last few things that Hami Reyes has done as a superhero. But then that is the moment where you actually have Superman say, oh, by the way, you're grounded. Not like you're a teenager, you're on punishment. It's more of like you're grounded as a superhero. And the only reason why, because when it came to that transmission that Blue Beetle got earlier, so did the Justice League or other heroes across the world. And so right now it's Superman saying, hey man, listen, like right now, I'm trying to figure out if the Reach is about to attack the Earth once again. And if they do, we have to be prepared for it. But at the same time, we want you on the sideline, just in case they're able to take over you and use you against us. And so right now it's Superman saying, you cannot be a hero until we have everything figured out. Sorry, man, but you're basically grounded. And you have Superman fly off just like that. Now, once you have Superman actually leave, that is the moment where we kind of find out that Superman is talking to Batman. Now, with that being said, you do have Superman right now telling Batman that he just told Hami that he can no longer be a hero for the time being. Now, for Batman, he's kind of like, it's the best choice. And the only reason why, because you have Batman right now trying to analyze that transmission. But on top of that is Batman saying, I feel like we're about to be attacked once again by the Reach, except this time we are not going to be prepared for it, meaning that we could technically lose this battle somehow, but for right now we have to try to figure out what we can do to actually protect the Earth. And so that is the moment where we actually jump over to Hami Reyes. Now, when we do, of course, we actually see him right now very upset about the idea that he's not allowed to be a superhero for the time being, because technically he was just grounded by Superman. Now, with that being said, though, he didn't realize, you know what? I still have a graduation party. And so with this graduation party, let me go ahead and go back inside so I can at least enjoy my presents. The problem is though, when he does go back inside and open up each present, it's not what he actually expected, because that is the moment we kind of find out that each present was like, towels or toilet paper or pillows. And he's very confused on why in the world his parents bought him these kind of items for his graduation presents. And that is the moment where you actually have his parents say, oh, you forgot, because you're not going to college. That means you gotta do something else, because you're not gonna stay at home and do nothing, which means that you're gonna have to get a job or go to college or get a trade. Either way right now, you gotta do something. You ain't gonna stay here. And matter of fact, we got a job for you lined up already. And we come to find out that job, guys, is working at his aunt's diner. But on top of that, it's not in El Paso City. Matter of fact, he has to go to Palmyra City, another city completely far away from El Paso. And so he now has a new job at his aunt's diner. Now, once Jaime Reyes is actually done talking to his parents, well, that is the moment where you do have Paco, his best friend, wanting to show him a video, a very important video. And we come to find out that with this video, something big is happening right now in El Salvador, where we come to find out that a new character, and by the way, this new character is a beetle-like character, is right now attacking El Salvador. Someone else out there right now has a scarab and using the powers of the scarab to actually attack El Salvador. And the question is right now, who is this new character? And so as we jump into the second chapter of this storyline, we actually do pick up weeks after the ending of the first chapter. Now, with that being said, though, when it comes to the second chapter, we do learn the name of this new character, this new beetle-like character. And we kind of find out that their name is Dynas. Dynas is actually a type of beetle, but I still hope I pronounce the name correctly. Either way, though, when it comes to Dynas, they have been popping up left and right across the world. Now, you do have the other heroes right now talking to the public about the idea that they are trying their best to figure out who this new character is and how they're going to stop this character from appearing across the world and attacking different people left and right. Now, while you have this news report happening right now, we also see Jamie right now working at his aunt's diner. Now, of course, with him working there, he hates it with a passion. But on top of that, he's also struggling in a way of like he's unable to actually complete tasks at the diner. And so even though he hates the place, he's actually bad at his job as well. And so honestly, his first few weeks after graduation is not going that great for him. But on top of that, he can't be a hero at all either. He was told by Superman, you cannot be out there at all. You have to stay grounded. And even when he asks other superheroes like, hey, do you have an update on me being a hero again? You have other heroes say, no, you are not allowed to be a hero right now, Jamie. Stay where you're at. Now, the next section of this story is kind of sad. And the reason why I'm saying that because we actually do pick up right now with Jaime Reyes sending a video to his best friends who are right now back home in El Paso. Now, this is actually very important because what he's doing right now is that he's sending a video trying to make it seem like he's having a good time in Palmyra City. But in reality, he's not. He's struggling, but he's trying to keep that fake smile on the camera because he wants them to believe that he is actually okay. Now, with that being said, though, once he does finish the video, he remembers that he has a meeting with Ted Kord. Now, remember, guys, when it comes to Ted Kord was actually the Blue Beetle before Jaime Reyes was. The difference is that when it comes to Ted Kord, he's kind of like Bruce Wayne and Oliver Queen, meaning that he has his own company. But at the same time, he does rely on what he built with his company's money and gear to make himself a good enough hero for the entire Earth. But on top of that, though, when it comes to Ted Kord, he's kind of like a mentor to Jaime Reyes in a way, because they're both Blue Beetles, but Ted Kord came first. Either way, when it comes to Ted Kord, like Bruce Wayne and like Oliver Queen, he has a lot of different offices across different cities across the world. And matter of fact, in Palmyra City, he does have an office building. And matter of fact, he's there right now in that office building. And so you do have Jaime say, you know what? Let me go ahead and meet up with Ted Kord. Now, as soon as Jaime Reyes does arrive at the office building of Ted Kord, well, that is the moment where he is actually attacked by Dynas. Now, as soon as Dynas appears, of course, they're trying to kill off Jaime Reyes because he is the Blue Beetle. And so it does lead into a battle between the two characters. Now, when it comes to this battle, we're also reminded that when it comes to Jaime Reyes, that technically right now, he's on his own fighting against this character. And the reason why, because the Scarab cannot communicate with Jaime. Because remember, when that transmission came in earlier, something happened to the Scarab, where right now the Scarab is only speaking some kind of foreign language that Jaime cannot understand. Either way, he does try his best to actually fight against Dynas. And matter of fact, there is a point in the battle where it does seem like he's about to win. The problem is though, the Scarab begins to shut down, like power down on him, leaving him defenseless against this new character. Now, that is the moment where we do see Jaime Reyes actually be saved at the very last second by Ted Kord, the other Blue Beetle, the second Blue Beetle, because there is an older Blue Beetle, but has not been seen in DC Comics for a long time. Either way though, when it comes to Ted Kord, he's actually able to put some kind of force field around Dynas to hopefully stop that character for now. But right after he does that, that means Jaime Reyes is now able to actually breathe and relax. Now, while you have the two Blue Beetles kind of play a little catch up, that is the moment where we are actually introduced to the sister of Ted Kord, and that will be Victoria Kord. And apparently Victoria is the one who is actually in charge of Kord Industries. And so right now we kind of find out that Kord Industries is trying to build new technology by using old alien technology to build this new technology to lead the human race into a bright future. Now, as soon as you have the three characters kind of wrap up their conversation, now that is the moment where we actually do see the Dynas Scarab powered down to figure out who is the host of this particular Scarab. And we kind of find out it's a young lady known as Zymera. Now Zymera is actually very protective over her Scarab. She even tells Jaime, Ted, and Victoria if anything happens to her Scarab, there's going to be hell to pay. Either way right now, they're trying to figure out who she actually is. What is her connection to the Scarab? But on top of that, why was she attacking Jaime Reyes? And matter of fact, she does not even tell Jaime, hey, why I'm attacking you for. Like, literally, she's more protective over her Scarab right now at the moment. And so you have Ted tell Jaime that right now, when it comes to Zymera, she's going to be locked up because Victoria actually has some kind of facility that can actually make sure that when it comes to Zymera, she can't cause any more problems down the road, but at the same time to study her Scarab, to learn more about her Scarab, to hopefully figure out what's happening right now across the world. Now, that is the moment where we do see Jaime and Ted go outside so that they'll be able to have a conversation in private. Now, I kind of like this conversation because it really shows that when it comes to Ted Kord, he's not just a mentor to Jaime Reyes. He's kind of like a big brother to Jaime Reyes because they're both Blue Beetles, but Ted Kord came first as Blue Beetle before Jaime does. And so right now it's Ted kind of like, you're like a little brother to me, but I want to make sure that you are ready for the world, because it could be a day where you are the main hero of Earth and you have to protect the entire Earth. And so I want to make sure that you're ready to be that hero. You never know when the world could be calling on you to actually save it. Now, at the end of their conversation, you do have Ted Kord tell Jaime that you now have a badge to access the office building after hours. So there you go, buddy, but go ahead and go home. Now, you do have Jaime Reyes actually go back to his aunt's diner. And of course, when he does arrive at the diner, something else happens, because as soon as he arrives at the diner, well, that is the moment he is confronted by Starfire. And you have Starfire saying, hey, listen, man, a war is coming very soon. And when it comes to this war, you are the only person that can stop the war from actually happening. And you're kind of like, wait a second, Starfire, what do you mean by that? What can Hame do to actually prevent a war from happening or to make sure they win the war? Like, what is happening very soon? And so that is the moment where we actually jump over to Ted Kord at the beginning of the 3rd chapter. Now, when we do, we actually pick up with Ted Kord right now, studying the transmission from earlier that had reached the heroes, but he's also studying Dynas as well. Now, while he is studying both things, that is the moment where he is confronted by Batman. Now, this is Batman just being Batman. You know, the usual, like, hey, I'm here. Tell me what you know, and then I'm going to disappear. Now, of course, Ted Kord unfortunately doesn't have much to tell Batman. The only thing he can tell Batman is that when it comes to Dynas, Dynas is a walking tank. Like, how powerful that Scarab is crazy. But that's really it for Ted Kord. Now, you have Batman also express the idea that he's very upset with Ted Kord. And the reason why, because he knows that Ted Kord is kind of motivating Hame to go out there again as a hero and kind of ignore Batman and Superman's orders. And so it's Batman saying we cannot have Hame out there, because if we do, he might cause more problems for us down the road, or possibly get himself killed, because it seems like a lot of people want him right now at the moment. And so as we jump back over to Starfire and also Blue Beetle, we actually see Starfire right now kind of explaining why she came over to Blue Beetle. And she says that she honestly feels like when it came to Batman and Superman orders, that they were technically wrong with the idea of putting Blue Beetle on the sideline, saying that when it comes to Jaime Reyes, he should be involved. And the reason why, because it's the Scarab's people right now who are actually about to attack the Earth. And so we should have him there with us to hopefully learn more about the Reach and how can we stop the Reach from taking over the Earth. Now, on top of that, this is also Starfire saying, I know what Hame is actually going through, because she knows right now he has a lot of doubts about himself, that maybe Superman grounding him was the best thing ever to happen to him, because now he feels like he's not a good hero at all anymore. It's a huge change in mood right now. But as Starfire is saying, do not believe that, because you have so much potential in becoming a great hero. But on top of that, I feel like myself, you're already a great hero, a great ally. And on top of that, we need your help if we're going to stop the Reach. But then we pick back up with Victoria. Now, this is actually very important. And the reason why, because you have Victoria right now trying to figure out why in the world Zymera was trying to come after Hame for. Why was she trying to kill off Blue Beetle? Now, when it comes to Victoria, she was able to find out a lot of information about Zymera. Instead, it's weird because in your home country, you were a teacher, and it seemed like you really did love your job. So I'm confused why in the world you left that behind to become a killer and try to kill off Blue Beetle, somebody who's known as a superhero to the entire world. And that is the moment she said, listen, when my Scarab came to me and attached itself to me, I learned a lot of different things about Jaime Reyes Scarab. And let me tell you right now, you have no idea what that Scarab is actually capable of. But getting back over to Blue Beetle and Starfire, while you have the two characters still out there, hanging out, having a good time, well, that is the moment they're attacked by another beetle creature. And this one is called Natada, and this one is green. Now, when it comes to Natada, it's actually able to change its size. So of course, it can grow really small, but also grow very big. Now, this section right here is going to give us a lot of information about what in the world is going on in this story, because while you have Blue Beetle and Starfire fighting against Natada, and of course having a very hard time actually stopping this character, you did have Starfire remind us that when it comes to her people, especially her, she's able to actually learn about someone's language or their history through touch. And so right now it's her saying, let me actually touch Natada, because if I do, I will technically learn about the history or what they're reasoning to come after you for. And so once she does push Blue Beetle out of the way and you have Natada grab Starfire, bam, it's time for us to get an info dump to learn what in the world is going on in this storyline. And so this is where we get our info dump. And what I mean by that is we learned many years ago the Tamaranians were actually in a war with the Reach. Now when it came to this war was actually a deadlock war. Neither side was actually winning this war. Now there was a group of refugees that were apparently not down with the idea of conquering the universe. And so they wanted to escape their home world. And you had some Tamaranians actually help those refugees escape their home world. Now, once they did that, they didn't say, you know what? We are going to fight against our own people because we're not down with the idea of our own people conquering an entire universe. And so those refugees call themselves the Horizon. They go around to kill off scarabs that belong to the Reach, who are right now trying to conquer parts of the universe. And so when it comes to Blue Beetle, they have no idea that scarab right now is actually defective, meaning that originally it was made to conquer the Earth, but after a while it was actually influenced to become a good guy. But again though, when it comes to the Horizon, they have no idea, or it seems like there's something else we don't know about the Blue Beetle Scarab. Either way, you do have Starfire realize what is actually coming towards the Earth. The Horizon, their entire military force is coming to Earth just to get Blue Beetle. And so you didn't have Ted Kord actually call up his sister. Now, when he does call up his sister, he's telling his sister, hey, I just got word that there was another beetle in the city. That makes 2, which means that we could have even more coming down here to our city just to look for a Blue Beetle. Now, Victoria, she hates the idea that right now her city is being attacked or being destroyed by these 2 other beetles just to get to Blue Beetle. And so it seems like right now she wants to get involved to make sure that her city is actually protected. Now we do jump over to Blue Beetle and Starfire. Now when we do, we actually see the 2 characters right now wondering what their next moves should be. Except that is the moment where you didn't have Paco, the best friend of Blue Beetle, call him up and say, hey bro, listen, we're coming in town. We saw your video and we're like, man, we gotta go see our best friend in Paloma City. Now for Blue Beetle, he's like, this is the bad time to come. Because right now, a war could be possibly coming very soon. Like, can y'all come any other time? But of course, that's the moment where you have Paco and Brenda tell Blue Beetle, we're not coming here by choice. Because I had a hard time saying choice, guys, sorry. But you have Paco and Brenda say, we're not coming here by choice. Matter of fact, we're being forced to come here. Because that is the moment we kind of find out that Fadeaway is right now holding Brenda and Paco hostage as a way to get to Blue Beetle. Because apparently Fadeaway has some unfinished business with Blue Beetle. And that's the end of the 3rd chapter. Now, we do jump into the 4th chapter of this storyline. And when we do, we actually do pick up right now with Ted and Victoria Kord looking for the green beetle. Of course, that would be Natada. Now, while you have the 2 characters right now looking for the green beetle, Natada, unfortunately, they're unable to actually find that particular beetle. But you do have the 2 characters kind of talking about the idea of Jaime. And what you have Victoria say that she's very concerned that sooner or later, Jaime is actually going to be corrupted. Now, Ted believes in Jaime, saying, listen, Jaime's been a hero for a very long time. There is no way that he is going to be corrupted, meaning that we should be okay. But again, with Victoria being kind of the smarter sibling out of the 2, it's really her saying, you may believe that, but unfortunately, I believe that sooner or later, he's going to be corrupted by his scarab and he's going to do bad things to the Earth. But getting back over to Hame and his two best friends, Brenda and Paco, who are also with Fadeaway, the bad guy we saw earlier, we kind of find out that technically Fadeaway is not a bad person. Matter of fact, Fadeaway is here to ask Hame for help. They need the help of the Blue Beetle. And the reason why, because we kind of find out that this is actually not the original Fadeaway. That matter of fact, there was another Fadeaway a long time ago that used to fight against Batman, Hawkman, and some other characters, especially Hawkman apparently. Either way though, when it came to the original Fadeaway, that is the grandfather to this Fadeaway right now. But the original Fadeaway was actually a bad guy who went around stole a lot of powerful magical artifacts. And so right now, it's technically the new Fadeaway, this one right here, saying, I'm trying to fix what my grandfather did in the past, because all the artifacts that he stole have now fallen in the wrong hands. And I want to make sure those artifacts go back to the rightful owners of those artifacts. And so right now it's him saying, I need your help, because there is one particular artifact that I need your help with to get, so that I'll be able to return it back to its original owner. And of course, it's some kind of purse, some kind of satch. Either way, the person who's right now holding on to the satch is actually Victoria Cord, the sister to Ted Cord. I don't know why I said the brother, but the sister to Ted Cord. Either way though, right now you have Fadeaway saying, if I'm going to fix my grandfather's mistake and return all the artifacts to their rightful owners, we're going to have to break into Victoria Cord's laboratory and get the artifact that actually does not belong to her. It belongs to someone else. And so that actually leads us into the next section, where you actually do have the teenagers, or the young adults now, because they did finish high school. You do have the young adults begin the process of actually breaking into Ted Cord's home office, which honestly is Victoria's home office. Either way, right now, you do have the young adults breaking into this facility. Now, while you have the young adults breaking into this facility, it also jumps into a conversation between the four characters. Really the three characters, Brenda, Paco, and Hame, because they're all best friends and they have grew up together. And right now, it's Brenda kind of asking Hame why he did not choose to go to college. Because if he had chosen to go to college, or even at least, applied and kept trying to go to college, he could have stayed in El Paso with her and also Paco. But again, you have Hame say, I don't feel like college is for me. And honestly, I don't think it ever will be something for me. And so with him saying that right there is him telling Brenda, college is great for you, but at the same time, it doesn't mean it's great for me. In reality, it could actually be a bad thing for me. Something else out there could be better for me rather than going to college. Either way, you do have Blue Beetle leave to actually find Fadeaway, so that they'll be able to actually continue on with their break-in to find this satch that belongs to Victoria Cord. Actually belongs to someone else, but Victoria Cord has her hands on it right now. And so while you have Fadeaway and Blue Beetle continue on, you have Brenda and Paco stay behind on the elevator. Now that is when we actually jump over to Blue Beetle and also Fadeaway right now continue on with their adventure to find the satch or the purse, whatever. Either way, on their way to Victoria Cord's office, that is the moment they do find the cell room of Zamara. Now remember, Zamara is actually Dynas, but right now she cannot turn into her beetle form thanks to the force field right now that she is in, is keeping her power down. But here's the thing though, she belongs to the Horizon group, and she believes that when it comes to Blue Beetle and his scarab, that technically they're going to try to conquer the Earth. That sooner or later, the scarab is going to corrupt Hame, and when that happens, the Earth is technically over. That nobody will be able to actually stop him. But you have Blue Beetle say, you're wrong. Like, yes, originally, when my scarab arrived here to Earth, it was supposed to conquer the Earth. But thanks to me, it no longer wants to do that. Instead, it actually wants to protect the Earth. And matter of fact, you have Blue Beetle say, we are more than just hosts for these scarabs. That matter of fact, with compassion, we can actually teach these scarabs a lot of different things about human nature. And so with that being said, it's him telling Zamara, you may think I'm a bad guy because your scarab right now is telling you that. But if you actually try to teach the scarab more about human nature, but also more about me, maybe you can change the mind of your scarab and the rest of the Horizon scarabs who are right now trying to come and kill me. Either way, you have Fade Away and Blue Beetle continue on to go find the item that Victoria Cord is holding on to at the moment. And so that is the moment where you do have Blue Beetle and also Fade Away being able to actually find the purse that was actually stolen by Victoria Cord, this magical artifact. Now, once they do find the purse, of course they see that right now there's a force field around it to make sure it cannot be easily stolen. Now, that is the moment where you do have Blue Beetle use the scarab as a way to shut down the power to the force field. The problem is though, he also shuts the power down in other parts of the building, including the part where Zamara is locked up in, that cell room. And so as soon as the power goes out in that cell room, of course, now she's able to actually change back into her beetle form and being able to actually escape. But on top of that, now Fade Away is able to grab the purse and also leave just like that. And so now Fade Away has this powerful purse artifact, but at the same time though, now the yellow beetle Dynas is out there right now and could come back with reinforcement to come after Blue Beetle down the road in the storyline. Now that is the moment where you do have Ted and Victoria arrive back to the office building. Now when they do arrive back at the office building, of course, that is the moment they kind of find out that Zamara is gone, that she was actually able to escape her prison cell thanks to Blue Beetle. But on top of that though, the magical artifact that Blue Beetle just helped Fade Away take away from Victoria Cord's office or laboratory, well apparently Victoria did not steal that item. Matter of fact, she found that item or she bought that item as a way to make sure it wouldn't fall in the wrong hands. And so basically, you just had Blue Beetle help Fade Away steal an item that technically was being kept safe away from any bad guys by Victoria Cord. And right now, Fade Away has that powerful item to use for his own personal gain. Either way, that is the moment where you have Ted tell Hame, you should be very worried. And the reason why, because you were technically grounded by Superman. He told you, do not do any kind of superhero stuff. And here you are right now doing more superhero stuff. And thanks to you doing more superhero stuff, the yellow beetle, Dynas, has been able to escape. And so now we have two beetles just running around the city. And knowing Batman, he already knows about it. And he's calling in the big guns to hopefully deal with this problem. And so once they're able to actually deal with this problem, I'm gonna tell you right now, you're on the bad side of Batman right now. Like, he's gonna be very angry once he's able to talk to you about all your mistakes you're doing so far. Now, as we jump into the 5th chapter of this storyline, this is where we technically see the Justice League step in and try their best to actually capture the other two beetle creatures. But here's the big thing though, guys. Starfire nor Blue Beetle haven't told the Justice League about the Horizon group. And so right now, when it comes to the other heroes except Starfire and Blue Beetle, they believe that the two beetles right now on Earth belong to the Reach, and they're here to conquer the Earth. But in reality, these two beetles are actually here to technically capture Blue Beetle because they believe that he is a bad guy. They want to protect the Earth. And so technically right now, everybody's on the same side right now, but no one knows or hasn't told everyone that technically right now, they're all on the same side. Now we do jump back over to Ted and Victoria, who are right now telling Blue Beetle that he is not allowed to do anything at all. And the reason why, because every single time he tries to do something, he only makes things even worse. And so right now it's them saying, you cannot be involved anymore, because if you do get involved, you are only going to make things even worse. And we can't have that. And so we're asking you to literally just sit on the sideline. But again, though, if Blue Beetle had told the rest of the heroes what him and Starfire had actually learned and had also confirmed, then that right there should tell you that all this fighting mess could literally stop. But on top of that, though, you have Blue Beetle leave without telling Ted, hey, listen, when it comes to these other two Beetle characters, they're not here to conquer the Earth. They're actually here to protect the Earth because they believe that I'm still a bad guy or my Scarab is still bad. They have no idea that my Scarab is actually good. Now, that is the moment where we come to find out what is Batman's plan to actually take out the other two Beetles. And we come to find out that Batman has this plan where he's going to use Cyborg to kind of neutralize the two Beetles, to technically shut them down. Now, of course, it could lead to other side effects, but at this point right now, they don't have any choice. They have to stop these two Beetles who are right now just causing havoc across the city. Now, when I say they're causing havoc across the city, I really mean more of they're trying to defend themselves against the Justice League because, again, no one has told the rest of the heroes that Horizon is actually good. Either way, right when Cyborg is about to take a shot, that is the moment where you have Starfire jump in. And you have Starfire telling Cyborg what she should have told him a long time ago, or told Batman or Superman a long time ago. Like, hey man, listen, when it comes to Horizon or these two Beetles who are part of the Horizon group, they're actually good. Yes, they may look like Reach Scarabs, but they're honestly the opposite of them. They're the good guys. They're trying to protect the Earth. But again, it's Cyborg kind of like, I'm having a hard time believing that because they look like the Reach. I mean, technically, they are part of the Reach race. But at the same time, though, they're not because they broke away. They formed their own group. They formed their own ideas. And so even though you have Starfire telling Cyborg this, he's still having a hard time because he can only look at them and say, but they're the Reach. Like, you may tell me they're good, but I know our history. They are the Reach. Now, you do have Blue Beetle try his best to actually reach the other two Beetles to hopefully calm everybody down. The problem is, though, while he is trying to do that, of course, that is the moment he is stopped by Black Condor. Yes, Black Condor. This character right here, honestly, don't like the character at all. And the only reason why I don't like the character is because the outfit. Literally, it looks ridiculous. I'm sorry, it does. But either way, you do have Blue Beetle actually fight against Black Condor. And literally, the next few pages are really just more of a way for us to get more battles between the Justice League and also the two other Beetles, and also Blue Beetle and Black Condor as well. Which honestly, the fights are kind of cool. I mean, the artwork is not that great, to be honest. I feel like the artwork did kind of get a tad bit but at the same time though, it's still kind of cool to see the characters fight against one another for more than just like 2 or 3 pages, because honestly, we do get a lot of good fight scenes in this one particular chapter. But on top of that, it's kind of cool to see Blue Beetle trying to take charge, because he realized that technically everybody is just freaking out, and if everybody just stops so that he's actually able to communicate with everyone, then everybody can be on the same page. Either way though, you do have all the fights continue on, but then we jump over to Cyborg and Starfire. Now that is the moment where we actually do jump over to Cyborg and Starfire. Now when we actually jump over to Cyborg and Starfire, it's right now Cyborg still not really listening to Starfire. I mean, literally guys, you have Starfire trying her best to convince Cyborg that when it comes to Horizon, they're not as bad as the Reach. And so even though you have Starfire give so many different examples, and apparently the Titans have some kind of like files on the Horizon group, which honestly makes no sense to me, because if they did have files on the Horizon group, then Cyborg should know that Horizon is actually good. either way, even though you have Starfire trying her best to convince this man that when it comes to Horizon, they are actually good, he is still not listening. He's all like, nope, gotta go ahead and shoot them down right now. Now, this leads into the big moment of the storyline, and what I mean by that is we actually do pick up right now with Blue Beetle. Now, when we actually pick up with Blue Beetle, he's able to regroup with the other Beetles. Now, once he does that, of course, it's right now about the idea that technically he has to protect them from the Justice League. And matter of fact, you have Cyborg actually take the shot at one of the Beetles. Now, Blue Beetle is able to protect the other Beetle. And once he does that, well, of course, he had to take the shot. But when he took the shot, it led into this end mine sequence. Now, this becomes very important, guys. And the reason why, because that is the moment where you actually have the story tell us a little bit more about what happened earlier when it came to that transmission, because we kind of find out that it was the Reach actually reaching out to the Blue Beetle Scarab. And the reason why, because it was hoping that the Scarab could just rejoin the Reach and then begin the process of actually conquering the Earth. Now, of course, the Scarab said no, but the problem is though that when it comes to the Scarab, it still would scare the idea that the Reach could technically reprogram it and then have it to conquer the Earth. And so because the Scarab was so scared, the different functions the Scarab has was shut down. Like, for example, communications. Because remember, throughout this story, the Scarab could no longer actually communicate with Hame anymore. And now you know why, because it was so scared. But at the same time, so was Hame. He was also scared as well. And also, he began to doubt himself when Superman had grounded him, because he believed that he was no longer a good hero. And so because of the fears of both of these characters, they realize that it's technically affecting them as a hero. And so once they're able to actually conquer both their fears and regroup, bam, just like that, Blue Beetle has a new form. Blue Beetle is back to 100%, and they are now able to communicate once again to each other. It's like, okay, here we go, let's go now. And so that leads us into Batman and Superman coming down to Hame, Blue Beetle, and telling him, hey man, you know what? We were wrong. Like, technically, we were wrong about everything. Like, in reality, we should have sat down and actually talked to you and listened to you. And that is our problem right there, that we kind of don't sit down and listen to other heroes who are not technically part of the Justice League. We feel like we know what's right, but in reality, we're still human, or we're still people who make mistakes. Either way, as soon as you have Superman and Batman tell Hame that, well, that is the moment where you have Superman realize something is coming towards the Earth. And matter of fact, all the Beetles, they're kind of worried as well, because their Scarabs are also freaking out as well. And that is the moment we kind of find out the Horizon group is coming towards the Earth. And so as we get into the final chapter of today's video, we actually do pick up right now where technically you have everyone wondering, what is the Horizon going to do once they actually do arrive and land on Earth? Now, the thing is, though, that is the moment where you do have the Beetles realize that the Horizon spaceship is actually trying to communicate with them by sending another transmission. Now, when it comes to this transmission, they're like, listen, the reason why we're coming to Earth right now is to, one, stop Blue Beetle, but right now our spaceship has been damaged and we can't stop. So technically right now we're just free falling and we're about to crash into the city. And so now you have the heroes having to step up to actually stop this spaceship from crashing into the city. Now, usually in this kind of situation, you would have Batman or Superman take over as, you know, the person in charge to give directions. But for the sake of the story, and also as a Blue Beetle book, we're going to have Blue Beetle be the one in charge to lead everyone to figure out how to actually save the city before it's blown up by this spaceship. And so you do have Blue Beetle lead charge with the rest of the heroes to save everyone on that spaceship, but to also save everyone in the city as well. And so this actually does lead into Blue Beetle being a hero. Like literally he's able to tell Superman, Batman, Green Lantern, Flash, all the heroes, go here, go there, do all these different things as we work together as a team to stop this spaceship from crashing into the city. And honestly, he does a great job. Now we all know that because this is a Blue Beetle book, they had to make it seem like Blue Beetle is able to just jump in, give directions, and everything is going to be a-okay. In reality, this could have gone a whole lot worse, but for the sake of the storyline, it's kind of like, hey, it's okay, he got this. Either way, you do have Blue Beetle actually being able to lead the heroes into actually stopping this spaceship from crashing into the city. But now it comes to the big moment where you have the Horizon group actually, being able to get off their spaceship and to figure out what in the world to do with Blue Beetle. And so this leads into the moment where you do have the Horizon group being able to actually exit their spaceship. Now, when they do, it does lead into the moment where you actually have the Horizon group very confused on why Blue Beetle is still alive, because they sent 2 other Beetles to hopefully defeat Blue Beetle, but he's here right now alive and well. And they're very confused on why in the world Blue Beetle is still alive, like why he's not dead or at least captured. And that is the moment where you do have the other 2 Beetles tell the Horizon leader, no, Blue Beetle is a good guy. He is not bad. He's not no conqueror. Yes, he was made by the Reach, but he broke away from the Reach. He's actually a good guy. Now, the Horizon group at first cannot believe that, but then you have Superman step in. Now, when Superman steps in, he's all like, listen, y'all, Blue Beetle's a good guy. And you literally have the leader of the Horizon group like, oh, well, if Superman says he's good, then we definitely know that Blue Beetle is good. Now, in reality, it was Superman who tells the Horizon group that when the Reach tried to take over the Earth, it was actually Blue Beetle who stopped the Reach from conquering the Earth the first time. But at the same time, though, it's still Superman coming in being like, no, Blue Beetle's a good guy. And because Superman is well known across the universe, you have the Horizon group like, oh, well, if Superman says he's good, then we definitely know that Blue Beetle is actually good. Okay, guys, we're going to back off now. Now, that is the moment where you do have the Horizon group say, well, we are looking for a new home because ever since we left the Reach, we always been on the run. We never had a planet to call home for ourselves. And so we've been flying around space for who knows how long. Either way, that is the moment where you have Blue Beetle say, they can stay. Matter of fact, they can stay here in Paloma City. And I'll make sure that everything they need is actually provided to them. And so you now have a home. You're no longer on the run from the Reach. And if the Reach comes here looking for you, we'll actually protect you. And it's kind of like, okay, well, you know what? Now the Horizon group's on Earth now. This is somewhat new and interesting. Okay. And really, you had a story kind of end on that note right there, where technically you do have Blue Beetle begin the process of trying to change Paloma City into a city where it's a home for now humans, but also for the Horizon people as well. And also it seems like Paloma City is going to be the new location for Blue Beetle. So it really is a graduation day. You were in El Paso, you're in high school, all in the past. Now you're a young adult, you're also a protector of this new city, but also protecting the people of this city as well, and the alien race in this city as well. It's a true graduation day. On top of that, you now have the respect of Batman and Superman. So take that respect and own up to it. Graduation day. So that is the end of Blue Beetle Graduation Day, guys. It's a very interesting storyline. Apparently there is a sequel, and after that sequel, we jump into a new Blue Beetle series for the Dawn of DC. Either way, guys, I'll see y'all next time. Later.